Hello, I'm Annabel Brodie-Smith, Communications Director of the Association of Investment Companies. And today I'm really excited to be talking to Mike Seidenberg. He's the Portfolio Manager of Allianz Technology Trust, and he's joining us from California. And the great news is he's coming over to London to speak at the AIC's Investment Company Showcase on October the 11th. So great that Mike's coming over. Mike, it's all been happening with technology recently, hasn't it? All that volatility. What do you think's causing it all? And what's your outlook at the moment?
Yeah, it's a great question. Now, look, I would tell you that technology in general goes in kind of in waves, right? Where you have stocks go up, stocks go down, and what we really care about as long term investors are, where are things going to be with a multi-year time frame, understanding that within that construct, there's going to be a fair degree of volatility. I heard an interesting stat: the number of 5% corrections in the Nasdaq in a given year. I want to say it's like three plus on average. So this has been a volatile time period. We saw a lot of excitement around the artificial intelligence related companies, and we've seen in the past, call it 6 to 8 weeks, is just somewhat of a pause with respect to these names. And in fairness, there have been some results that haven't been perfect across technology, and that's impacted the near term prices. I remind myself and I remind the team, because we are a very team oriented process, that our job is to find winners, and these winners are companies that should outperform if we think about a multi-year time frame. And we, as a portfolio, we are bottoms up investors, but we're really top down with respect to near term positioning. So we, like other portfolio managers, have made some adjustments. I don't think this what we've experienced lately is something kind of out of the realm of what I've seen in my career, but nonetheless, it results in a lot of long nights and a lot of nervous stomachs. And at the end of the day, it's part of the job, and it's the reason why what our goal is to kind of drive returns for our shareholders. But at times, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, it can be stressful, and that's kind of where we are today. I mean, I still think, or I still believe that what we're seeing is just a continuation of the adoption of technology. It's become such a mainstream, so ubiquitous inside companies, and we continue to see that. And there's some reflection and valuation of the popularity of technology, with respect to the spend we're seeing. But near term, we're stepping wisely with respect to the trust.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you're thinking hard about it and you sometimes get nervous, but you're positioning your portfolio to come through.
Yeah.
Now, we're glad that you're coming over to the showcase in October. What are you going to be speaking about there?
Yeah, I'm going to really focus on technology and the pervasiveness that we've seen within industry. And you can roll the clock back a long, long time ago. I mean, if you think about, it's funny when I walk around London, I love seeing in some of the offices, they have those old ledger books that you see. And today, if you were to go inside a company, you wouldn't see a ledger book, right? You'd see someone inside of a computer terminal, or potentially actually, on their phone or on an iPad, that would be, kind of, debit and crediting an account. So technology is a journey that we have seen, at least, in my lifetime. The applicability just continues to become more and more kind of front and center, and I'm going to talk about that. I think it's an important topic. I think it's a reminder for all investors, and whether you own the Allianz Trust or not. I don't really, I mean, obviously it'd be great, but if you don't, have exposure to technology in some way, in some way, shape, or form. Because if you think about your daily life and you think about your interaction for most people, it is really one whereby technology really gives you a better life for the most part. It's not without saying there's some risk associated with that. It's why we kind of have some focus on cybersecurity. But I'm just going to talk about the applicability of technology primarily in industry and personal lives, and what it means for companies, and specifically, obviously, stocks, because I just think it's a relevant theme and idea. And it's not a new idea, but it's an idea whose journey continues.
Well, that sounds really interesting. And clearly, technology is touching our life and more so every day. So I think that sounds like it's going to be really helpful for our investors at the showcase. And just so we can get a little bit of a background on you, how did you become a fund manager? How did you become a technology fund manager?
It's an interesting story. I mean, I would describe my personality as I'm somebody that's always been intellectually curious. I mean, I like to know how things work. I had exposure, in high school of, working, in the back of a garage at an automotive dealership in summers. The journey for me was one of prior to business school. I worked for Hoffman LaRoche, the big Swiss company in pharmaceutical sales and then biotechnology sales specifically. And then I went back to business school many, many moons ago. And when I came out, I really had this belief that I wanted to be part of technology. In fact, if I hadn't gotten into business school, I was actually interviewing with technology companies to leave biotech. I got a job at Oracle, working in vertical applications, and that's a fancy way of saying products that are specifically geared to industries. I worked in operations. I worked with our partners to help put a suite of products together. And then I actually went out and sold that suite of products after helping put it together because I thought that would be a really good experience. By the way, software sales are really hard. Learned that quickly. I have a lot of respect for anyone in sales. It's not. It's here again. It's a job where you might be keep yourself up at night. And then I started. I would run into people periodically, and they'd ask me about software companies and stocks. And one thing led to the next, and I usually have pretty good opinions on them. I mean, one of the people said to me, "You should come to the buy side." They basically said your knowledge is such that you really know these companies, you understand what makes them successful. And I interviewed, and I got the job. And the rest is kind of proverbial. The rest is history. But I think it's a journey for me that has been a really interesting one, in that I love the fact that I get to meet with these super interesting companies that run by a lot of times these entrepreneurs. And I feel really lucky in that I am in that constant learning curve. After this call, I'm going to the Goldman Sachs Tech Conference this afternoon, or this morning, in my case, and I'm excited to go listen and learn and try to figure out are there companies that we should be looking at for the trust. So I just encourage anyone just be a lifelong learner, like, because it's such a great way to go through life. And there's so much out there, and it doesn't have to be technology. It can be all sorts of things. And I have lots and lots of interests outside of technology. So that's how I got there. That's how I got here. And I'm fortunate, and I feel very lucky to do what I do.
Well, I've got to say, I think that's a fascinating story, Mike. And I feel lucky to talk to you. I find that interesting, but you have a great time at that conference. That sounds really good. And we are so pleased you're coming over from San Francisco to the showcase. We'll be seeing you then.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited to be. I love coming to the UK, so I'm excited to come. Talk soon.
See you then. Take care.